Okay. Hi, Lizzie. How you going?
Hi there. I'm going very well. Thank you very much.
It's good. Thanks for coming on, and well done on such a good run at Rasselbock. Just over. Oh, I guess it was almost 2 weeks ago now.
I started on 1st of March and finished on the 3rd of March. Which seems quite a long time ago because as soon as I finished, I then went on the holiday and I've only just got back today. So
Yeah.
it's a long time since I've been for a run.
Right. Yeah. So when did you start running anyway, and how did you get into it?
So I ran a bit. So I work as a nanny, and I many years ago I wanted to get fit, but I didn't want to go to a gym. Essentially, I didn't want to pay any money, so I just kind of went out the door. When the children were at school and I had a bit of time, I just sort of went out the door, went for a run around the block. I couldn't tell you how far I went. I didn't record anything. And then I was working for a Russian family, and I had a shift pattern, which meant my life was surprisingly difficult to organize. But as soon as I finished that job, I thought, right, I'm going to start a new sort of fitness regime, and I'm going to do a boot camp, and so yeah, through the boot camp, actually, on the Saturday mornings, we would go for a run. And I think that it was those Saturday runs that made me realise that I quite liked running and I was pretty okay at it. So then I started recording it on Strava. And then, and actually, one of the jobs I had was I worked in the Middle East for a couple of years and I did actually run a marathon while I was there, but I still would not have classed myself as a runner because I ran the marathon purely out of boredom because the kids were at school 6 hours a day, every day. I couldn't leave the grounds because of where I worked. It was a security risk. I was allowed to use the gym, so I went on the treadmill every single day. I don't think I enjoyed it, but it was just like it was either sit in my room and do nothing or go on the treadmill. So I did do a marathon. I think that was like 2009, but I would not have said I was a runner. So it was only really I think my first ultra was 2019. So it's only maybe 1 or 2 years prior to that I was sort of doing maybe 10K runs and those, like fun, muddy runs.
Yeah.
So I kind of gently eased into running, and then accidentally entered an ultra. Um, and my friend was doing an ultra, and I thought, well, if she can do it, we go to the same boot camp together. We're similar fitness. So I thought, well, I'll enter it too. So I sent her a message. I said, oh, Joe, I've entered this. I've entered this ultra at the weekend. And she said, oh, that's not the one I'm doing. The one I'm doing is in 3 weeks' time. So I'd entered one with 3 days to go. Did it and really enjoyed it. So that's where my ultra sort of running started. Yeah, 2019, but by
Yeah.
accident.
Unreal. So I understand there's UK has like Wales and Scotland. Which part of the UK are you in?
So I live in England, the south of England, in Hampshire.
Yeah.
It's about an hour south of London. It's in a place called Aldershot, which some people may have heard of because it's the home of the British Army. From my point of view, that means I've got a great section of MOD land that I can train on. So there's not any crazy hills there, but there's some really good terrain, sort of gravel and sand, and there are some very short, sharp hills. So it's great training ground.
Mm.
And then the Brecon Beacons, which is the mountain range or a mountain range in Wales, is about 2.5 hours from my house. So I try to go there once a month to do a couple of back-to-back mountain days in Wales, which is amazing fun. I kind of wish I lived a bit closer to Wales and I'd be there every weekend.
Right.
But so I'm in England.
Yeah, I saw that you're friends with Vic. So and she's in Wales, isn't she?
She is, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
we have the same coach actually. That's how we know each other.
Right.
Um,
Right.
So yeah, and we both like backyards, but but
Yeah.
she's been doing backyard ultra a bit longer than me, I think. So and I've actually only done three. So
Yeah, well, I looked at that. I saw that you did your first one. There was a big gap between your first and second. So, what can you tell me a bit about that first backyard ultra that you did?
I having done my very first ultra in 2019, I then watched the Barkley Marathons documentary, got completely obsessed with everything Barkley. And obviously with that you find out about backyard, so I decided I was going to embark on this backyard journey because that was the for me that seemed like the easiest way to get into Barkley. Bearing in mind I was very new to ultra, really naive, so I rocked up at Fackham Backyard, which has quite a lot of elevation. It's over 400 foot, and it's a long course as well. It's at least 4.25 miles. And I turned up there absolutely adamant I was going to win it. And my crew said to me, Kevin Munt, who I think you know,
Yeah.
um, he said to me, "Have you run 100 miles before?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Okay, but you think you're going to win?" I was like, "Absolutely, I'm going to win this thing." So off I went, and I got down to the final five. I was the last lady. I still have the course record on that one, I think, for women's course record. And then I got timed out because my foot hurt. So then I learned a lot from that experience. I went away. I thought I need some time away to sort of grow as a runner. I really wanted to do well at backyard, but I can't just go into it, say I'm going to win, and that's that. So I sort of shelved backyard for a bit, and then did a lot of other stuff. So I did a lot of like FKTs, fastest known times. To do that, I needed to learn how to use a map and compass. A lot of the routes I choose are in Wales, so that meant learning mountain craft, and just basically learning. I think the mountains give me grit and determination. They've taught me how to cope in any weather. And then I did longer, I did a few 100 milers. I've done a 200 miler. I did all sorts of different types of races. I did, point to point as well as backyard style, like sort of like with a limit of 12 hours, but in the same rules as backyard. So I did a lot of different things. So then in January, when I went to Trails and Tarmac Backyard Ultra, I was on that starting line as a very, very different runner.
Mm.
Still adamant I would win, because in my mind, if you are going to run backyard, if you're not going for a specific distance or a specific time, then you have to go in it to win it. Otherwise, there's no point in you being there. Because if you doubt yourself, that's a limiting thought, and you're already kind of starting on the back foot. You really need to believe in yourself. So I went to Charles and Tarmac, and I'm not used to running on tarmac. 50% of the course is on tarmac, and that did get to me eventually. So I was the assist. I did 32 yards. I got timed out on 33 because I think my IT band's just totally. I've never had pain there before, but it felt like I had like two metal bars in my legs, and I physically, like, there were I think 5 styles every yard, and 3 of them were back to back, and I just got on that 30-second yard. I just got stuck on every single style and had to like use my hands to like hoik my legs over. So I got timed out on 32. And then with Rasselbock, I knew that was a recent one. I knew it was a competitive field. I knew there was elite runners there, and I was so excited because I think we had number 8 and number 10 in the UK were running, and someone had stated on their entry that they wanted to do 50 yards. And I wanted to do 60, which is would be the female GB record. So I was very open about that, but I wanted to do 60 yards and I wanted to go for the record. So Rasselbock was an amazing experience because it was just so good to be able to run with elite runners and know that when you got to 24 hours, there was still going to be, in fact, at 24 hours, there was more people in the race than there had been at the start of the last backyard ultra I'd run. So,
right. Yeah.
um, there was. Oh no, hang on, that's not right. No, there's backyard ultra before that. So yeah, there was a lot of people on 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first one that you did, I think it was 2021, is what is correct. But did you enjoy the format? Like you went in thinking you would win, but did you finish it and think I really loved that?
Yeah, it suits me because I think I sort of get, I don't know, I think I get quite determined, and I like a routine. Actually, I don't know, I'm very versatile. It depends on the race I'm doing, but but when I'm doing a backyard, I really like the routine. I take a lot of I love it when my lap times are similar. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
To me, that's a positive thing. I like that the course determines to you. Also, it depends on the course, but sometimes the course will determine to you when you can run, when you can walk, and then other courses you can play around with that a bit. I like that it's a safe way to push your distance, PBs.
Mm.
So yeah, I do. I like the format, and I like the friendly. You all come together again, don't you, on the hour? So I spend a lot of time when I do the longer stuff. I always seem to end up on my own, and I can be hours and hours on my own, and it's just really nice to see the same people on the hour every hour, and then chat to them a bit on the course. So yeah, it's a nice community feel to it as well, I think.
Were you following, but so between your first and your second backyard ultra, were you following the format and for example, did you go to any and crew anyone or anything like that?
No, I wasn't following the format hugely, but I was checking in on, I was intrigued by the at-large list.
Mm.
And I would look at the names on the at-large list, and some of them I would recognise, and just sit there and be in total awe of these people and look at these numbers and be like, how are these people doing this? This is so incredible. And then obviously the SAT champs, yeah, very intrigued with that. In fact, when Sarah Perry, I was watching her on the live stream, and I was just like, how is this woman still going and still looking so good? And so yeah, I was sort of dipping in and out, but not like avidly following along.
Yeah, yeah. And so your mindset going into trails and tarmac sounds like it was like you were going in to win, but was Rasselbock on the radar then? Like, were you using it as a bit of a tune-up for Rasselbock as well to practice a few different strategies or anything like that?
Trails and tarmac, I only ever this year has it's not gonna go how I planned it because at the beginning of the year my plan was to do trails and tarmac and then to do a Rasselbock event in September, and the September one would be the one to go for the record. But what happened at the end of trails and tarmac is I got timed out, and my crew ran to come and find me on the course because he didn't know, what state I was in. Quite emotional because it was amazing. I'd really pushed my PB, and he said, "Oh, there's a surprise for you at the end." And I said, "Oh my God, is it an Easter egg?" And he was like, "No." No, it's not an Easter egg. I don't really know why I was so obsessed with Easter. I mean, it was January anyway. So finished, and my coach was there. And he told me my surprise, which was that I was on the England team.
Right.
So doing 32 yards was enough to get me on the England team, which means I'll be running for England at Highlander in July.
Yeah.
Um, and then somewhere I can't I think yeah after I think again after trials and tarmac, Eric the RD of Rasselbock said, do you want to come and race at Rasselbock, because I hear you're planning to get the GB record? And I was like, yes please, that would be amazing, because it'd be good practice for Highlander as well. So yeah, so basically the March one and the July one were never on my radar, but yeah, now they are. So yeah. And in answer to your crew question, I haven't crewed yet, but I am crewing at Suffolk in June. I will be crewing my friend Kev,
Yeah.
and I think that will be very important for me to see things on the other side. I think I'll learn a lot from that.
And so, how long before Rasselbock was it that you locked it in?
Um, what? How do you mean?
Oh, so when did you? So Rasselbock was on the 1st of March. Like, when did you know that you were going to
Between
run
race.
it?
Oh, when did I know? So
Yeah.
I think 6 weeks
Right.
between. I think between races I had 6 weeks, and I think I knew. Actually, yes, I was. I remember when I got the email from Eric. I was on my way to my friend's house. It was Christmas time. It was I think it was December actually. So I think I knew about Rasselbook before I did Charles and Tarmac. Possibly,
Right.
can't quite remember, but but
Right.
yeah, and then 6 weeks between races.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned Kevin. I remember I was watching the live stream of Suffolk last year, and Kevin stood out because like he ran 25 yards and I think he was like 67 or something like that. So yeah, that performance blew me away. And you've known him for a pretty long time then, have you? You running the same running group?
That's right. He's the head coach at one of my running clubs, and I seem to I'm a member of a few, one in Wales and one in England. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's head coach of my running club. And the first time I met him, I had heard. I think I knew he had done Dragon's Back. I knew he was an ultra runner, and I just walked up to him and I said, "Hi, I'm Lizzie. I'm going to be the first female to win the Berkeley marathons."
Yeah.
And he's never forgotten that, and he says that's what he loves, my positivity. So yeah, we just go, he's amazing. I find him so inspiring. He has done so many incredible events and seems to know everything there is to know about running, ultra running, and backyard. So he's a real source of knowledge for me. And we go on. We've been when he was training for Dragon's Back, I went up with him and joined him. We've done number of long training runs together. He's crewed me a couple of times, and I crewed him. So yeah, he's incredible. Actually, he's got real true grit and determination, which I really saw. He did a 200 miler in December. He was running it in memory of someone, and he really got his head down and got the job done, even though it was a quite difficult race for him. I think he's very inspiring, a
Mm,
good person to know.
yeah. Did how much detail did you go into the race plan with Kevin before the start of Rasselbock?
Quite a lot. I really like. I think one of the reasons I love ultra and backyard is the list making. I also call it a scavenger hunt. I love the scavenger hunt before the race. You know, when you're going around the house, collecting everything together, going to the supermarket to buy what you need. So he had crewed me at the first backyard that I did. Then I learned a lot from a crewing. The second backyard I did, there was a few things I learned then that I realised I could tell him that would help me. So yeah, we had an Airbnb the night before the race, and we essentially had a meeting.
Yeah.
And also the car journey was like 3.5 hours, and we literally spent the whole journey talking about backyard and running, and how he was going to enable me to do well. So yeah, a huge amount of detail.
Yeah. So, what were you thinking about tactics in the race plan? Like, what were the main things you were concerned with getting right?
So I don't know how to sleep. I can't. I haven't learned how to micro nap yet. I got Vic did give me some tips. I have been unsuccessful there. But I do suffer with insomnia anyway. So we sort of discussed a bit how ways to sort of help me maybe not sleep, but just help me have a total calm and relax, even if it's for almost like a meditation. So just to 2-3 minutes, just switching off from the race completely, zoning out from the noise, and being in complete darkness. So we talked a bit about sort of not sleep strategies, but rest strategy. I told him that, so I'm really good at eating, like so good. But then there will always be that point where I get so tired, I don't know what I want to eat, or when you sort of your saliva, you sort of run out of saliva, so you can't swallow anymore. So Rasselbock was the first time that I tried baby food pouches. And they were an absolute game changer. They're proper meals. They're really surprisingly tasty, interesting texture. But yeah, if you can get your head around the texture, they're tasty and they're filling, and they've got, I think, quite a surprising amount of calories in them, actually. So we talked a bit about food and nutrition. And he said to me, he wanted to know how much can he do for me, as in, like, am I okay if he like massages my legs, for example? And I said yes. Anything to get me back out there and keep me going. We talked about I suppose, sleep, nutrition, and just keeping the crew tent, keeping that in order, and having everything, like, if he needed to learn, I said, when I'm out on the lap, you need to learn where everything is.
Mm.
So when I ask for something, or you see I need something, we're not wasting time looking for it.
Yeah. So I noticed that you were running pretty consistent loop times, and I mean overall your average loop time was 52 minutes. So was that had you thought about loop times, and was that the loop time that you were planning to run before the start of the race?
I think I was aiming for about 53. I think that's roughly, I think I did about 53 on the Trails and Tarmac one, but there was a bit more elevation on that one.
Mm.
And with the Rasselbock one, you could really play around with the course, actually. So you could definitely, if you wanted a faster lap, you could definitely put one in. I think 53 is good for me. At Fackham, I think I was doing 55, which is fine. It's perfectly adequate, but you just sort of feel a bit less stressed, I think, when you come in with 53 minutes.
Mm.
Any longer than that, I think, is too much.
Yeah. So how did you run your loops? Were you like looking at your watch and like so for example, like running for 5 minutes, walking for two, or how did you structure your run walk strategy?
So I tend to have time, like the first couple of, always try and do a recce. And I try to work out timer markers. I will be at this tree at 17 minutes past the hour, and I will be at that bush at, 40 minutes past the hour. But with when I did the recce at Rasselbock, they had forestry work going on, so we couldn't do the complete loop. And then the other thing that caught me off guard with Rasselbock was I've never been in such a big event. I think there was 166 starters. And normally in the previous two, I always try to be the last person.
Yeah.
There were so many people that was impossible, and I ended up chatting to people. So it was ages before I found my rhythm. And in the end, it was just literally one. It was as I came out of a forest and onto a path, I knew I needed to be there at 24 minutes past the hour. And as long as I did that, everything else was fine. So I'll normally have sort of markers around the course. And if it's a hill, 100% I will walk that. If it's a steep down, there's one sort of quite steep downhill on Rasselbock, so I walked that. Otherwise, just a gentle jog down the downhills. If it's flat, then I'll generally run it. Depends, yeah, depends if I want to put a fast loop in, I'll just run a bit more basically. So yeah, so I tend to let the course dictate to me where the walks are, and then I always have an idea of where I should be at a certain time, so then I know if I need to speed it up a bit.
Because I mean, there were some loops, like a handful of loops where you did run them a little bit faster. Like there are a few loops under 50 minutes. So, what was the strategy around those ones?
So I think there were two slow loops that I did that really made me cross because I didn't know why they were slow. There was no, I couldn't think, I hadn't done a pee, I hadn't fallen over, I hadn't stopped to eat. So I think I did two or three back to back slow ones. Then I had some caffeine, and it had been the first caffeine I'd had in 2 weeks. And then I did a 48 or 49 minute yard. So sometimes the fast yards are specifically because I've had caffeine or pain relief. I'm pretty sure my PB yard would have been a fast yard because I went absolutely nuts on that one. I'd promised myself on the 33rd that I don't normally listen to music, but I listened to AC/DC Thunderstruck. I don't know what that was the song I chose to celebrate my PB yard, and I went mad. I was skipping, sidestepping, running backwards, jumping up and down. And I had to keep stopping because at that point I was running with a guy called Matt. We did quite a few yards together. And and he was just thinking, what has happened to this person? So I had to keep like stopping to wait for him, rather than go charging on ahead. So that I think that the 33rd was probably a quick one, to be honest.
Right, yeah. And as far as things getting hard goes in the race, like what came first? Like, was the physical pain an issue or was mental exhaustion? What came first?
So for the first time ever, this I didn't I well, I suppose every backyard's DNF, isn't it? But I chose to stop. So the previous two backyards I timed out, but this one I made the decision. And actually, it's so exciting because when I stood on that start line, I knew I wanted the GB record, but secretly I didn't really know if I was capable. I just was like, just kept telling myself I can do it, I can get 60. But I chose to stop on 50, and I physically felt absolutely fine, and I 100% know that I could have gone on and on and on, but I chose to stop because quite frankly I was bored, and I had no one to talk to, because Ian and I were running totally different laps, so we only saw each other on the start, and that was kind of it. And for me, running, the absolute number one with running is that I do it because I love it, and I do it because I enjoy it. And the fun had stopped at some point. I'd really thought about it, and I knew Ian, if Ian got to 50, he would get the Scottish record. So it was somewhere in the late 40s. I knew I wasn't really having fun. I wanted to stop, but I thought, well, we'll go to 50 because then Ian can get his record, and then then I'll stop. So that's exactly what happened. So physically, I was in great shape. And it was really interesting actually because my legs just plateaued. So there was an element of, I suppose, an element of discomfort, but not pain. And it never got any worse. It just remained the same. So that's how I know physically I could have carried on. I had no blisters, no hot spots. Everything was in really great shape. So yeah, physically it was all good, but I was just bored actually, and I decided I wanted to get the 60 in different circumstances. I think it would be really fun to have someone similar pace as me, and we can run it together. And I think that would be a really nice way to do it. And even better if that someone was female, actually. So, because it would be really nice for two women to get to push past the female record. I think would be really cool. So
Um, so,
September.
so Ian must have been looking pretty strong because, like, yeah, I'm sure if he looked like he was going to stop soon, you probably would have kept going for the win. Yeah.
Um, I don't know that's a first because that backyard was not one I had planned to do. I went in with slightly different tactics.
Mhm.
Because they say, don't you, that the sign of madness is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting different results.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'm going to go in rather than going in adamant I'm going to win. I'm going to go in with the number 60 in my head, which is very dangerous because when you set yourself a number on a backyard, you can reach that number and then mentally everything just shuts down. So if we'd have got to 60 and Ian was looking good, I still would have stopped. So I just really wanted the 60, but then turned out that actually it's no fun on your own. So I'll do it another day. But yeah, no, Ian was looking good. I knew that he was coming in, I think, about a minute quicker than me. And he was getting, I think he was sleeping as well. So I don't know, with that specific backyard, I wasn't necessarily going for the win. I wanted a big number.
Yeah.
But yeah, July is the next one. So yeah, I'm gonna switch back. I'm gonna go in to win that one, see what happens.
And so, around what time of the race, like, did the field start thinning out, and like you were like, and you found yourself running the loops on your own? I know. I mean, I spoke to Dom. He told me you were speak. He spoke to you a little bit during the race.
Yeah. Dom and I had we had matching socks, so we bonded over our Courtney style toe socks. Yeah, but I think Ian and I must have done like 8 or 9 yards together,
Yeah.
but separately because we were just on different paces. And it was overnight. So on night two, oh yeah, I was really struggling with sleep deprivation actually. Because in fact, yes, because I had managed to nod off. And when I went, I think I had 2 minutes sleep, started the loop, and I knew I was in trouble because I was so groggy. And I thought, I genuinely could get timed out now because I'm so sleep deprived. So I said to Ian, then, what should we maybe try running together? But yeah, we were just totally different sort of game plan. So, but then I sort of woke up a bit on that. I can't even remember if that lap was daytime or nighttime, but I do remember being really sleepy at one point, and I put my headphones on and went crazy, like doing like a karaoke session just to try and wake myself up because I was weaving around all over the place and like slurring. I was singing along but slurring my words. So yeah, there was a tricky I don't even know if that was nighttime or daytime, but there was a tricky couple of laps when I was really, really sleepy. But I somehow managed to wake up with the help of music and karaoke.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you did sleep for a couple of minutes. Did you wake up from that sleep feeling a little bit better, or did it help at all?
No, I felt awful. Yeah, because I think my body thought, oh, great, let's have a proper nap. And I was, yeah, no, I was, it really didn't help. So, which is interesting because you kind of would think that that having a quick 2 minutes would help, but in that, no, it didn't help at all. But in fact, just the closing, what I had been doing before that is just closing my eyes. I put ear defenders on, just to block out the sound, and covered my eyes, so I was in total darkness and no sound, and just breathing and, yeah, like meditating, I guess. So I was awake, but doing that for 2 minutes seemed to work a lot better for me than that sleep was. Yeah, that was nearly game over for me, actually. Waking up from that sleep.
Yeah. And was part of the sleep deprivation, were you having hallucinations as well?
I've never ever had hallucinations, which really bothers me. I really want to. I've
Yes.
never had them.
Yeah. So
Feel
you
like a raw runner.
so you mentioned you completed 50 loops and then decided to end it there. So
Yes,
even,
I went out for 51 and turned back. Yeah.
right, yeah. So at the start, when you started loop 50, did you know it was going to be your last one, or at that point in time were you thinking, or had that not even entered your mind that it might be your last one?
I've been thinking when it had been just Ian and I had been thinking about it for a while. I knew that 50 would get him. I knew, so we had, when we had run a little bit together, and he'd told me that his distance PB would be 48, and to get the Scottish record would be 50. So I had been thinking about it, and I thought I definitely want to get him to 50 and then see how I feel. And it was bizarre because I've never really had that before. I've never, I don't want to use the word quit, because it really was my choice, and I have absolutely no regrets about it. I think I stayed true to myself. I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. And if it was an A to B race, then yeah, I would have carried on. But those pine trees were getting pretty pretty monotonous. Yeah, no one, chatting to Kev for a handful of minutes at a time on the hour every hour, but they're not really conversations. It's just kind of like, what do you want to eat? Have
Yeah.
you done a poo recently, kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not riveting, is it? So yeah, so I kind of, I knew, and I think Kev knew, because I think when I was on my rest after 50, I was quite emotional. He sort of kicked me out onto 51. And I did actually, I was blacking out a bit at that point. On the start of 51, I was blacking out a bit, but I knew that would pass, and it did. And I got, I don't know how far, maybe half, not that far, maybe half a mile into the yard. Um, and I sort of slowed to a walk, and I just asked myself a series of questions, but basically, am I going to regret this?
Mhm.
And I really sort of went through all the options, and I thought no, because I've shown myself that physically I'm capable of so much more. I just want to do it. I just want to be having fun.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's quite an interesting situation, because I've never pulled out of anything before. So
Yeah. So it sounds like at the time you were you were fine with that decision, but like I can't, like whenever I finish a back, I can never stop finishing. No, I can never stop thinking about how they finished. But are you at, are you at peace now with how the race ended?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I have been the whole time. So I'm more bothered about the first backyard I did. I'm really bothered about that because I got timed out because my foot hurt, and and I've since then learnt the difference between pain and a pain that signifies an injury. And that was just, yeah, that first backyard I should have ignored. It wasn't an injury. I was just uncomfortable, and I should have. Yeah, so I'm really bothered about the first backyard I did. I should have pushed through that pain and carried on.
Mm.
Um, second one, I had no choice. I got timed out, and then again, legs pain, leg pain, and they weren't really working very well. And then this one, I don't know. It just, yeah. I want to. Obviously, I do want that record, but I realised that the record, it's not everything. And my love for running, and I don't know why, but how I've been able to inspire others through that joy, means so much more to me than anything else, because I've been overwhelmed with the messages from total strangers, the support and the messages I have received off the back of this has been phenomenal. And the amount of people who've said, watching me on the live stream, they pushed them to go for their long run that weekend. Or someone else sent me like their whole life story of running, and was, which was amazing. And someone else said, I've entered a half marathon before. I've never run that far, but watching you guys on the live stream made me want to enter a half marathon. And it's just just inspiring others. Actually, that's everything, isn't it? It's the win. I'm so happy with what I did. I'm so happy with my performance. It was my choice to finish. I mean, I'm not saying I would have, if I'd have carried on, I'm not saying I would have won. Ian and I would have carried on battling it out, and ultimately he probably would have won, because if you looked at the two of us, I think he did look in better shape than I did. But yeah, I think just and like all the people that came along to watch, they'd been racing like the day before in the backyard, and then they came along to sort of see how it was going to play out. And it was just, yeah, it was really cool, actually, or the level of support from so many different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and inspiring performances from people on the race as well.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as the game plan at Rasselbock, well, what did you learn from the performance that like you might change or fine tune things for your next race?
So it's given me a lot of confidence, because I know I can do a lot more. I know I need to figure out rest and sleep a bit better.
Hmm.
And then I've learnt that baby food is incredible. And I've also learnt having, I always use like little milestones and little goals. So usually I love food. So usually all of my goals are basically revolved around food. So I knew at 24 hours I was having halloumi and chips.
Yeah.
I was very excited about that. Or, at 18 hours or whatever, I was going to be having my first cup of caffeinated tea. But then on Rasselbock, I had a spreadsheet with how many places. So after 33 yards, because that would be my PB, how many places up the GB leaderboard I would move for every single yard that I did. And I found that really, really motivating, because so many, on like the 34th yard, I moved up 7 places,
Right.
because, there's so many people who've done the same amount of yards. So they have joint,
Yeah.
they're joint with loads of other people. So I found that really motivating. And I think I'll do a spreadsheet like that again in the future. And I think the other thing was, I think, yeah, with the crew tent, having that really I learned in January that the crew tent needed to be more organized, and it was much better organised at Rasselbock. But even so, I've got more ideas on how to organise it even better, basically. So, because you need to, it's what you're wasting time when you're having to explain where things are or remember where things are. So, um, yeah. So, so
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
Um,
organisation.
so with the baby food, what flavor baby food was your favorite?
Cheesy pot pie.
Right.
So I'm vegetarian, and Ella's organic. Do a cheesy pot pie. That was amazing. I had the tomato and spinach ravioli, which was okay. Um, and I can't remember some of the flavor. I was just like eating them without really like looking at the flavors. But yeah, cheesy pot pie definitely. Oh, and the other thing was Lucas. I've never really had. Yeah, I've never had Lucasade before.
Oh,
But
yeah.
one of the earlier yards, someone was talking about Lucasade, and then I started obsessing over it and decided that's what I wanted. So. Kev managed to source a load of bottles of Lucasade for. So normally I'm a Coca-Cola drinker, but yeah, I drank a lot of Lucasade on that run, and I will definitely be drinking that again because it's
Right.
really liked it.
Yeah. Now I understand it was pretty cold. Was that like, was that an issue for you?
No, I mean nah, I wouldn't have said it was that. I think it was like minus, like low. I don't know, -3, -5 frost on the ground. But for me, I'm so used to running in the mountains in gale force winds, snow, rain. So it didn't. I didn't have to put a second pair of gloves on, so it can't have been that cold. And I'm generally pretty good at layering. Although actually, I did find it tricky on the first few yards. I actually was running wearing a gilet, which I would never normally do that, but it just seemed the best way to keep, because you would sort of get really warm on the yard, but then at the beginning it was quite chilly, and the gilet seemed to have really worked, and I would just sort of unzip it.
Mm.
Um, so I did keep that on for quite a long time actually. So yeah, no, the temperature. I'm usually pretty okay at sorting out my layering system and keeping warm. I don't recall being cold at all actually.
Mm. Yeah, and it didn't rain. If it rained or anything like that, it probably would have been a bit thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. But do you have a
Yeah,
heater? Do you have a heater or anything like that in in your marquee?
no, no. Wouldn't even cross my mind to have a
Right.
heater in
Right.
the I just, yeah, no, as soon as I come in, Kev was there with my dry robe. And actually it was colder. The backyard I did in January, that was pretty cold actually. So I had my dry robe on, and then my crew would put a blanket on my knees as
Mm.
well. And then because you're in, the gazebo's got sides, so you're kind of quite sheltered. So yeah, no, I just that yeah, the dry robe and a blanket seems to be all I need. But having a heater sounds like, I don't know, that sounds a bit too cozy.
Yeah.
You might not leave the gazebo if you've got a nice heater in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so you mentioned the Barclay before. Are you still like, is that still your ultimate goal? Like, do you still want to go to the Barclay one day and finish it?
Yeah. Obviously, Jasmine's beating me to it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I'll probably get lost within about 10 minutes and,
Right.
have to send out rescue teams. But yeah, no, that is everything I do. I've realized over the years that the Barclay is at the back of my mind. And I think I make all of my decisions are based on that.
Mm.
So, I did Dragon's Back because I know that lots of people who've done Barclay have done Dragon's Back. I did the FKT, or I do the FKT routes purely to practice using a map and a compass, and to run on different terrains. So, and then obviously backyard is, if I can get really good at that, I'll send another email. I mean, Laz and I have had a back and forth. So he is due another email, I think, from me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Harass.
and it sounds like you pulled up from the race without any injuries. Are you feeling okay? And you went to Nepal not all that long after. Was it like the next day you flew out?
Yeah, I finished on the we finished on the Monday. So yeah, I got home Monday evening and then we flew on Wednesday. Which I thought was a really great idea. The holiday was already booked in way before the race was. But flying long haul just after running 200 odd miles, my feet and ankles swelled up so much on the flight. It was a bit scary, actually. So immediately after the race, I was fine. I was up and down the stairs. There was, yeah, I didn't really have DOMS. I was just like fatigued, maybe a little bit stiff, but nothing too crazy. And then I got on the flight and I couldn't even get my feet into my shoes. So my feet swelled up so much. So that was, yeah, so flying long haul after running a couple of 100 miles is not, I think, not advisable. But yeah, the swelling went down after a couple of days, and yeah, no injuries. But I haven't run because I've been on holiday. I haven't actually run since the race. So I'm going to go for a little run tomorrow and just check that everything everything is still working okay.
Yeah, cool. Now I read on Instagram like about your trip that you actually like you saw a whole heap of cool animals, but like you were pretty close to like a tiger. Like you could smell a tiger.
Yeah. Yeah, we were on like a walk. I don't know, walking safari.
Yeah.
Um, there was an aggressive elephant in the area who we did happen to come across. Apparently, he's killed like 30 people. So we were then power walking away from the elephants and then straight into like fresh tiger pad prints, and you could smell where the tiger had been scent marking. So
Um, yeah.
it was quite exciting, but I'm here to tell the tale. Didn't see the tiger, didn't see the elephant. We just heard the elephant like sort of chucking trees around.
Right. So a goal for a lot of backyard ultra runners is making their country's team for the World Sat Champs, and I mean you're sitting in a nice position now on that at large list with that 50 yards. So I mean there's still a long way to go, but is making that team something that you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just happened so quickly and so suddenly because obviously, off the back of January, I was told I could be on the England team. And then off the back of this one in March, I'm like number 9, I think, on the at large list, which is
Yeah.
just like my mind is blown. Because I'm just me, I'm just like this normal person that just likes running. And now I'm on the at large, I've got at large written next to my name, which is so exciting. So yeah, I would like to definitely, I want to be on that team. And yeah, and I don't see why not? Because I've still got 2 more backyards to do this year. So I've got 2 more opportunities to go beyond 50. I think Highlanders got a bit of elevation. I'm not sure that's a big PB course, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure the one in September is. So yeah, all being well, uh, yeah, I can push past that 50 and make sure that I stay on that at large list, which is just like so cool. So
Yeah. Well, I reckon 50 is probably a safe enough number, but I'm pretty sure that Highlander might be a silver ticket race as well. So whoever wins that race is a guaranteed spot on the team.
yeah, I'm also I did notice that as well. Yeah. So yeah, and I suppose I did say to you earlier that I'm going into Highlander with a view to win it. So yeah, I don't know. I get why not?
Yeah. So you got Highlander. What's the other backyard ultra you're doing this year?
Um, so the one in September, it's another Rasselbock event, and it's at a place called Hardwick Hall.
Yeah.
I've not recce'd the route yet, but I understand that it should be a pretty good PB course.
Ah,
Um, well,
right.
I hope I've understood correctly because
Yeah.
that's what I have in my head.
Because I actually thought that the courses were the same, they were just held at different times of year. So it's actually the same race organizer, but a different course.
That's right, yeah. So I think Hardwick Hall I think it's a National Trust property, so it should be. So the one in March was a place called Sherwood Pines, which is very, very beautiful, but you are essentially running amongst a lot of trees that all look identical, that are spaced equally apart. And I remember saying to someone on the yards, I was like, if I were to describe this route to you, I couldn't remember which order. You know, I've nicknamed everything. You know, you like the zigzag wood and the travelator and the go ape, but it's like I wouldn't not sure I could put it in the correct order because it all looks the same.
Right.
Because trees. But the Hardwick Hall one, that's a national, from what I understand, it's a National Trust property, which is a beautiful country home on a very beautiful estate. So that should be, yeah, should be quite a stunning course, hopefully. And yeah, and I understand yeah, it should be a PB course too.
Yeah, awesome. And you're not running at Rasselbock, but you'll be crewing for Kevin Munt there, yeah?
At Suffolk, yes,
Suffolk,
yeah.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and that's in June. It's kind of like I'm a bit like, because I feel a bit like a load of people might push me down the at large list and push me off it because obviously
Right.
Suffolk is renowned for, although it's a new course at Suffolk, because they've had to change it because of I think the amount of people that are now entered into it. But yeah, so there is a bit of me that thinks, oh, I wish I was racing, but I've got originally my A race for the year. It's in May, and it's the Wild Horse 200. So I had entered that way before I had any intention of doing backyard this year. So so that's in May. There's no way I'd be recovered enough to then be able to compete at at Suffolk in June. And anyway, yeah, Kev's doing it, and I cannot wait to crew him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be incredible. It's going to be such a great atmosphere because now I know. I think a lot of people there I will know because I'll have met them in March. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Hmm. Now, as we mentioned before, like there was a few years between your first backyard ultra and your second backyard ultra. Um, Now, moving forward, are you going to keep on doing backyard ultras, or are you going to have another gap?
I think I'll go and get the 60. I'll run for England. I'll get the 60.
Yeah,
I'll try to be on the GB team,
yeah,
and then I will probably go back to what I love more than anything in the world, which is anything in the Brecon Beacons. So which is the Welsh mountains, because that's my absolute passion, and good training for Barclay, I think. So.
yeah. Now, there's a famous race over there called the Tunnel that I know, like Vic's done, and probably some other people you know. Does that have any appeal to you?
Absolutely not. No, I don't know why. I do not know why anyone would want to put themselves through that mental torture. Um, like I said to you earlier, I run because I love it. Like that is my absolute number one. If I woke up tomorrow morning, went for a run and I didn't love it, I would just stop running. It's just, the whole purpose of doing it is because I love it. And the tunnel to me is a version of, oh, I don't know. Like you could go in there as a sane person and come out absolutely not
Yeah,
sane at all. So it does not appeal to me. I love hard stuff, but different types of hard. So in fact, we have a race here called the Copthorne races. That's in November. I've done it twice, and they are 10-mile loops. And there's a lot of elevation on that one. It's not in the form of hills; it's in the form of steps.
Right.
And I've finished. I'm the only person actually to have completed it. I was the only finisher last year, and the year before only two of us finished it. So this year, I they're now doing a 200-mile version. So I think I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that or not, but I'm still deciding because it's a different, it's hard, but a different type of hard to the tunnel. But it's that monotony of going around in loops, but then I quite like loops. So
Now, I like to ask my guests, Lizzie, for their three backyard ultra tips. So, what would your three backyard ultra tips be?
so I think we always remember to train our bodies, but I think it's really important to train our minds. And in backyard ultra, I think your fitness will only take you a certain way, but your mind will take you so much further. So I actually use a mindset coach, and it's I think you need to teach yourself how to be creative because you're always going to get to a dark place on not just on backyard but on any run, and you need to find a creative way to get yourself out of that dark space and into a positive headspace. So train the mind would be my number one tip.
Yeah.
Another one is if you think of something three times, then you need to act on it. So if you think, "Oh, am I hungry?" or "Is that a hot spot?" and if you've thought of that three times, then the reality of it is you've probably actually subconsciously thought of it even more. So you need to stop and you need to deal with that. And then my third tip is I think you need to. For me, backyard ultra is a team. It's a team sport. So I know there's only one winner, um, but it's all about pushing each other to your limits. And that's one of the reasons I love it so much because that winner can only go, as you know, they can only go 4 miles further than the assist. So you absolutely need to keep in mind it's a team sport. So if you're on a backyard and you see someone struggling, then you should say hi to them. You should ask them if they're okay. You should ask them if there's anything you can do to help because you never know, that person might see you struggling later on, and they might help you. Or in you asking them, are they okay? That might give them a little boost, and you actually may have helped them reach their PB. So you never really know where everyone's state of mind is, and what their goals, what their individual personal goals are. I think it's really, really important to remember it is definitely a team event, and we're all there to help each other and push each other to our limits.
Yeah, very good. Now, with the second tip, the three things, like, did you have any, or do you have any examples of that happening at Rasselbock, like you saying to yourself something three times and then acting on it?
Yes. So one of the yards, I was getting really sleepy, and I had plans. I think I was supposed to have a cup of tea and some rich tea biscuits. It's very clear, isn't it, that I'm very motivated by food. And then, but I just came in and just said to Kev, I need to shut my eyes. And the tea was ignored, the biscuits were ignored, the ear defenders went on, the something went over my eyes, and I took some food with me on the lap instead. So yeah, so definitely. Then, and I did have I thought I had a hot spot developing on my foot as well, and we did put something on there just in case. There wasn't anything there, but I think that was a good example of thinking about something and then taking action. And it is for me, I've never had the because I run in, I've just recently started running in those toe socks. So the backyard I did in January, I didn't change my socks or shoes once.
Mm.
And again in Rasselbock, I did not change my socks and shoes. So it was a bit nerve-wracking to take my sock partially off to check my foot, because I didn't know if I was going to find something or if in moving my sock would then create a problem, but it was all fine. So that was good for me to learn that it's okay to check your feet and bad
Yeah,
things won't happen. So
cool. And you're a big advocate for the toe socks. They've made a difference for you, have they?
yeah, it took me a long time to convert to them because I've got really weird feet. My second toes are longer than my big toes, and my middle toes are hammer toes, so they're basically sideways. And because of that, I just thought, oh, toe socks are not going to work. But people just go on and on about how brilliant they are. So I got a pair for Christmas. Tried them out on the January backyard ultra, and I just couldn't believe it. Not a single blister, no hot spots. Didn't need to change them. So yeah, they're definitely yeah. So when I do wild horse in May, I'm not quite sure what my sock plan will be because some of the ground's really, really boggy. So I'll probably have waterproof socks on for some of it and then the toe socks on for some as well. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, toe socks are, yeah, brilliant. Really, really good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations on such a great run at Rasselbock. Breaking 50 is like an incredible result. So you must have been proud of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I haven't really, I only briefly mentioned Matt earlier, but a big chunk of those yards was run with a guy called Matt. And he really helped me. We helped each other, and yeah, so I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really proud of him because that was his first ever backyard, and he got 40 yards,
Wow.
which, which for a first is phenomenal. And he's now on the England team, so hopefully we'll get to run together at Highlander. So yeah, I think, but that's again, yeah, you need to be proud not just of yourself but everyone, because everyone's just doing phenomenal things out there. We're all supporting each other and inspiring each other. So yeah, and running with him was a really great yeah, because of the previous backyards I just basically spent a lot of time on my own, so it was really nice to run with someone and have that sort of more of a even more of a team effort going on, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a huge difference running with people. And that's what I love about backyard ultras is just you're running with people the whole time and you're sharing the race with other people rather than just spending the whole time out there on your own. And also coming back to the crew, like you can, I love like spending time with my crew between loops as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's like every hour you feel like you're coming home, don't you?
Yeah,
It's really nice. It's really nice seeing everyone.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Really great to meet you. Congratulations again on the 50 yards and the assist. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what else you do for the rest of the year.
Thank you, me too actually. So well,
Awesome.
good
Well,
luck with your races too.
sorry.
Good luck with your future backyards as well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've got my next one is in May, so
Oh, amazing.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm looking forward to that.
brilliant.
Awesome.
Lovely. So nice to meet you.